Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In front of me right now we have the brand new UV-25 Plus from Baofeng Radio in China. That's baofengradio.com if you didn't already know. Now this is really interesting because it doesn't seem 2 minutes ago since I actually showed this radio here on the left hand side. This is the original UV-25, which is built a bit like a house brick. It's a very chunky radio, very robust, and weighs an absolute ton. So it's designed to appeal to those who like military spec looking type radios, but at an affordable price. So we were quite impressed with the build quality overall, and it did work very well indeed. Had some good reports on the air, some very good audio confirmations from various stations that I tried this one with, and of course an extremely high power output as well. So there were a few shortcomings with it. You know, it was a bit lacking in some features, but at the same time the overall opinion of the radio was that it was quite well built and it would last a full day if you're going out on the hilltops, thanks to its very chunky battery. But anyway, today we have got the UV-25 Plus, and physically these radios do almost look the same. Obviously the one on the left hand side has got the camouflage colour, which is what I ordered last time, but this one is only available in the black colour at the moment. So just bring it a bit closer to the camera, you can see the similarities between the other model there. It's same build quality, same battery, same small belt clip, and everything else seems to be the same. It's got the gooseneck antenna there as well, and the same volume control knob for the rotary control on there. But as you can see, the display looks slightly different. It's got a different colour scheme in there, and there's a whole load of other new things that Baofeng have added. So basically it's not the same radio that's just been repackaged. They've taken, I think it's something like UV-17 Pro, and put it into a bigger form factor case. So basically the UV-17 Pro is a very similar radio to this one. And how do I know that? Well, later on you'll see the programming software, and you'll notice that it is using the UV-17 Pro in Chirp to actually program this radio. So electronically, inside it must be the same kind of firmware or software on board. So there are some changes. Obviously this one's got a bigger RF stage than the original radio, but you know, we'll talk about that in a minute. So what has actually changed apart from the casing and the display on the front of there? Well, let's take a look at the specs. Basically they've upgraded the screen first of all. You might notice that on my comments on the original model I said the blue and red was pretty difficult to read when you went into the menus. If I just bring this up close here, you can probably see it on there. The red menu is kind of difficult to see on the blue background. And of course, I think it's almost like they've taken on board some of those comments when it comes to looking at the overall design of this, but maybe it's just coincidence as well. However, as you can see, this one is a lot cleaner on the display straight away, and the screen is slightly larger. So this is what they call a 2.0 inch LCD panel in this one, and the other one is a 1.7 inch screen. So maybe not a lot of difference, but you can see there's a bit more of a kind of bezel black border around this screen, whereas on this model it's a little bit wider. So the screen is that little bit bigger, which makes it a bit easier to read because there is a lot of stuff on there. You know, it's quite a busy display, but it does look quite good with the colour schemes that they've used on there, so that's kind of interesting. So keypad changes as well. This one's a bit contentious because look at this on here. You've got the shortcut keys, all different menus you see on there. You've got things like the step, TX power, battery save, wide narrow modulation, and all those kind of things. But on this model they've changed the keypad slightly, and you'll notice this time it's got the text entry characters on there instead, so the shortcuts have been dispensed with. And sadly a lot of people don't like that because you know, it's quite easy. Rather than going into all the menus and having to remember where everything is, you can just look at the legends on the keys and just press them. For example, for adjusting the step or the wide narrow modulation and things like that really. Unfortunately they've done away with that, and this time you've got a text entry system. But the plus side is you can program this radio without any computer software, and you can also name the memories correctly as well, which is one of the reasons why the text entry keys are on there, a bit like an old mobile phone from the 1990s or 2000s when they used to have the text entry buttons on the keys, and you'd use that instead. So that's kind of interesting really. So they've changed that in the layout. So that's the physical differences between the two models there. If we go back over to other things that they've changed, they've increased the transmit frequency range from 480 megahertz top up to 520 megahertz. So that's kind of interesting. A little bit longer range that's been extended there. I'll put the specs up on the screen anyway, so you can have a scroll through them. But basically everything else stays the same. They've just increased the top frequency range up to 520 megahertz for transmit. They've also added GPS functionality to this model as well. So that's kind of an interesting one, because the original model didn't have any sort of GPS, but this one's got a pretty decent GPS receiver inside it, and we'll show that off very shortly. Sadly, it's not compatible with some of the earlier Baofeng radios with GPS though. So I got a little bit of a statement from Baofeng on that one, because I did ask if the UV-5RM Plus was compatible with this UV-25, and that's the radio that I reviewed recently. I had a pair of them, and I showed them working out in the field using the GPS, but sadly they're not compatible with this new model. However, going forward, all the new Baofeng radios are going to be compatible with each other when it comes to GPS sending and receiving coordinates and things like that. So the actual statement from Baofeng, when I asked them about it, read something along the lines of, after confirming with the technical team, the UV-25 Plus is not compatible with the UV-5RM Plus in GPS, but what did it say? But will be compatible with our subsequent new models. So basically what they're saying is, going forwards, this is all going to be okay, and in future the new radios will work together with each other. But that's a bit of a blow if you bought some of the earlier models and were hoping to use the GPS functionality together with them. But not to worry. And the other thing is, on this new model, you do get an accessory pack this time, containing a carry pouch, a stubby antenna, and also a Baofeng speaker microphone. So you do get some different things in the box when you buy from baofengradio.com that you didn't get with the original UV-25. So they've made it more of a sort of value-added package. But yet the overall cost of the radio hasn't really increased. So we'll look at those accessories in a few minutes. But basically that is the main changes between the two radios at the moment. And perhaps one of the other things that I forgot to mention, which is probably quite important to say, is they've uprated the output power yet again. This model now has 12 watts output on max power. Now that's an incredible amount of power from a radio like this. It's still using the same 5200 milliamp hour battery pack, but you can now have top power of 12 watts on this one. So that's a crazy amount of power. So it's one of those hill-topping radios that you might want to plug into an external antenna. I certainly wouldn't be comfortable with transmitting nearly 12 watts of RF power right next to your head with these type of antennas, but it can produce that sort of output power, as you'll see in the power test shortly. So the original model was topping out at 10 watts, this one goes up to 12. So that's kind of interesting that they've increased the power level even further. It's like a competition between the Chinese manufacturers to see who can get the most power out of these things, but certainly the radio can handle it. It's got a decent RF stage, it's got an all-day battery pack, so you know, if you're going out for the day and you want a battery that's going to last, then this is probably the radio to go for. So let's take a look at the accessories that come in the box with the UV-25 Plus. Might as well start with the user guide. So there you go, multi-language user guide. It's quite well written, in English at least, and you've also got Italian, French, Spanish and German language in there. And all the functions are actually quite well explained in the guide. It's, like I say, it's quite well written. It's got some examples of how you would program certain things in there as well. So certainly a lot better than the early Chinese manuals. So that's a really good one to keep hold of as a reference. We've also got this speaker microphone, which is the stock Baofeng speaker mic. So it's a little bit lightweight, but it does work okay. Plugs in using the 2-pin Baofeng socket, or the K-type jack as it's called. So pretty much common to all the different transceivers that they've made in the past few years. And as you can see there, just plug it straight in. You've got a little red LED down there that comes on when you transmit with the PTT as well. So overall, it's a nice little extra to have in the box. And what else have we got? We've also got the standard earpiece and microphone combo, which comes with most of these Chinese radios, which I never really bother with, but some people do. If you're out cycling or anything similar to that, it's kind of useful as well, so that's nice to have. Also, you've got this gooseneck antenna, which I'm showing you here, which is already attached to the transceiver, which you can bend into any shape you like, same as on the original UV-25, which is really good. But for those situations where you want something a little bit more discreet, which is a bit of a joke really, I suppose, if you're carrying a radio like this, because it's like a house brick, but you have actually got this little stubby antenna here, which we're going to look at now. So this is the I think it's called I can't remember now what it's called, a BF805S, which is similar to that TID radio antenna I showed a little while ago. It's one of those short, stubby little antennas. Just screw it in, quite discreet and everything, so it's all good. Won't give you much range or anything, but if you're at Ham Fest and you don't want to poke somebody's eye out with a big antenna, or you just need short range comms for about a mile, then this kind of thing's going to work okay. Although I would caution putting 12 watts through one of these, it'll probably have a meltdown. It's certainly designed for low power local use, so you know, like I say, use with caution. But basically a nice little discrete antenna that you can screw into the top of the radio for short range use, but don't expect any miracles. Right, this is really good actually. The next thing I'm going to show you is the pouch. Now this pouch comes with the UV-25 Plus, and it addresses the problem with the flimsy belt clip, because you look at that, it's the same as on the original UV-25. The problem with that is that if you put that onto your belt, it's probably going to have your pants down really, with the weight of the radio, and of course it's not going to stay very far either. It's yeah, a little bit on the flimsy side. So it's like they realised this and they've addressed it by including a pouch or holster. So what you do is you drop the radio in, a little bit difficult when I'm holding it like this, but I just sort of push into here. You can see there the top half of the radio is still exposed with the speaker. There is a little clip that goes over the top of here to retain everything. There you go, you can probably fit it together better than I can. But you've got straps on here to sling over your shoulder, or whatever you want to do with it, around your neck. So you've got the radio in a pouch now, so it's not going to go anywhere, which makes it easier to carry. And you can still operate the buttons from the front, and you can still see the screen there as well. So that's pretty good actually. It's kind of like a nice little extra that's thrown in the box, and certainly better than using the belt clip. And I'm just going to put a picture up of when I took it out to the forest this weekend, and you can see me stood there like modelling this amazing pouch and everything. So hopefully you enjoyed that, but you can get the idea of what it's for anyway. So certainly better than just the flimsy belt clip anyway. Okay, let's just take the radio back out of that and pop that over there for a second. You get one of these things, which is that lanyard strap thing, which I probably wouldn't recommend attaching, but nobody ever does, to be quite honest with you. USB-C charge cable, which will work, although I've not even used that, because obviously with these kind of things you can use your mobile phone charger generally. It seems to work with power delivery cables as well, which was quite surprising. Well, at least it did with mine anyway. So I was able to use it with an iPhone charger and it seemed to work okay, so that was really good. So USB-C, and you also get a 2-pin power adapter in the box. This one's for the EU market. Obviously I'm in the UK, so it's not a lot of use without an adapter on the end of it, but again, I don't really use these things. This is just an extra that comes in the box. You can choose a US or an EU power lead, or power supply should I say, with this, but mine will just be staying in the box because I don't really need it or anything. So that's your accessories. So yeah, quite an interesting little package there anyway, and a bit better value than the first model that came out a few months ago. Okay, let's talk about some of the other changes in the software then between the original UV-25 and this new UV-25 Plus, apart from the GPS and the new screen layout as well. Well, this is really cool because one of the things they've done is added one of my favourite features, which is banks or zones. Now, if you remember me saying about the original models, and also a lot of other Chinese radios have this problem as well, is they have lots of memories but no way of managing them. But this one allows you to split those 1,000 memory channels into banks. They are fixed at 100 channels per bank, so you've got a maximum of 10 banks or 10 zones with 100 channels inside. But that's really good because you can divide up your listening into different things. So for example, if I go into the menu here, the first thing at the top of the list is bank, and we can click on bank. And you can see there we've got a number of different banks that are pre-programmed using Chirp and also the original Baofeng CPS as well, which we'll talk about shortly. I've got a bank for PMR 446, repeaters, ham simplex, marine channels, and GMRS, etc. because we do get people using GMRS in the UK, even though it's not legal. We often hear people over here from the States who are using radios illegally and stuff like that, so that's kind of interesting. And UK Light is like business radio frequencies. But as you can see, I've got this organised, so if I want to go to ham simplex channels, I just select that bank, OK that, and the radio now says on the top VFO there, I'm on channel, on 2 meter band on S8, and it says zone 03, which is the one I've set up in the software. So that means now I can go all the way around all these different channels that I've got programmed in here. These are all simplex FM channels up in the 2 meters and 70 sems region. And if I want to scan, I just hold down this bottom key with the little Z symbol on there. And as you can see there, I'm now scanning. Scan rate's not too bad on this radio. It does have dual watch, obviously, but when you're scanning, obviously, you can't do that. The top VFO is set to name and bank and zone. So as you can see there, it's running around quite merrily. So that's quite a good scan rate. Certainly better than some of the Chinese radios I've tried in the past. And we'll just stop it scanning again. But as you can see there, that is so useful. So if I now want to go to a different bank, I can go to repeaters, and I've put some of my local repeaters in there. So if I just press red to exit out, now GB3HS, and I just put the scan on that, and you can see some of the repeaters that are in range from here. I've got scanning around there as well. So immediately I don't have to scan all the other frequencies like marine band and everything else if I just want to monitor the local repeaters. So it's as though Baofeng have been listening and they've introduced banks. Sometimes the terminology inside this software, it says bank, and other radios will say zone, but zones and banks are basically the same thing. There's a whole load of other stuff in there. You can scan a particular frequency range, like a upper limit and lower limit in the VFO. Scan mode, obviously timeout, as in it'll move off a frequency if somebody's talking on it after so many seconds, or wait till the carrier drops, or you can do like a search mode as well, so that's really good. You can scan for CTCSS and DCS tones like you could on the previous models. And scan memory, there's all sorts of things you can do, but you can change the scan settings in there. Radio settings, I'm not going to go through every single one of them, because they're all very much similar on these type of radios. It does have a voice and an annoying beep, which I've turned off as well, like most of the Chinese radios. Oh, there's everybody's favourite there, the Roger beep as well. Everybody loves a Roger beep, don't they? And of course, there's all this other stuff as well to do with backlighting, the amount of time it takes to turn off, you know, backlighting if you want it to stay on like I've done on this. Power on display, you can have a logo, like a picture of your own choice, or you can set the voltage, which might actually be more useful if you're hilltopping, and things like dual watch on and off as well. So yeah, plenty of different features in the menus, and it's also got all the usual stuff there, PTT ID, alerts, squelch tail elimination. The only key you can program on this radio on the side key is SK1, and you can program it to do things like FM radio, scan, search, or Vox, etc. So, you know, the other keys aren't programmable, but they are very useful. One of the things I discovered on this radio is that, say I'm on that frequency there now, if I press this top button up here, I can toggle between the power levels. You see the H has come up in the top left-hand corner there. That's for high power. If I press it again, it goes down to medium, then to low, etc. And it goes red when it's in high power, like the turbo mode, to warn you that you're putting out almost 12 watts of power there. So we'll see if that's true actually in a few minutes, but kind of handy little shortcut key there. You can initiate the FM radio from the side of here, or anything else as well. So it's the same side keys as on the previous model, but like I say, only SK1 is currently programmable in the current firmware there anyway, so that's kind of interesting. But other things, usual stuff, you've got the satellite function GPS. Inside here you can turn it on or off. I've got it turned off at the moment. I'm going to switch it on there. And I don't know how quick it gets a lock. It's usually quite quick actually. Now we're indoors here. I'm in my kitchen, but we'll see if it can pick up a GPS signal in a minute. Time zone, you can set to whatever your current time zone is. I want to set mine to +1, which is already set there anyway. And GPS mode's interesting, but somebody asked me in one of my other reviews, which satellite system does it use? Does it use the American GPS or does it use the Chinese one? And the answer is both. In this model anyway, you've got the choice between GPS and the Chinese satellite system, which is the one that says BDS there. And you can actually use both. So if you want to get a lock quicker, it might be better to turn on both. It just depends what your preferences are and whereabouts in the world you are as well. But yeah, you've actually got the GPS options inside that. So what we'll do in a second is we'll just see if the GPS has actually acquired a lock. The GPS symbols come up on the screen. And to initiate that, all we do is hold down the red key on here. And we're just waiting for it to acquire a lock there. So I'll come back to that in a second. And it's now searching. And hopefully we will get some positioning info. It does seem quite sensitive. When I've done this before, I have had a lock indoors as well. So we'll have a look, and it does tell you the number of satellites it's receiving as well. So that's going to be quite interesting. And to transmit its positioning info, you just bring this up on the screen. You can see there's up to 30 contact IDs in there. And there's the host. It says searching until we get the lock on the satellite. But once it does, you can just press the PTT button on here and it will transmit that data to another similar unit. Now, sadly, I can't show that working because obviously I only have one of these new units with me. So we'll have to try and find another radio that it's compatible with and show this in another future demonstration. But you did see on the UV-5RM Plus. If you haven't already done so, check that out on my channel. It's on one of my recent videos. But this is a very similar sort of principle behind this one. It will be able to send and receive positioning data from other similar radios. So as if by magic, thanks to the power of video editing, we now have a lock on the satellite. But seriously, it only took about 3 minutes to get a lock. I just cut the video in between there so we didn't have to wait around. And that is indoors, and it's showing my positioning information and my height and everything above sea level. And it's also showing the time of day as well. So as you can see, the GPS receiver inside this is just set to the American GPS system, and it's receiving quite well. So surprisingly, that all works indoors, which is better than some of the other radios that I've tested. So like I say, it's just unfortunate I can't show it actually working because I'd need to have 2 units that are very similar to this one. But let's exit out the GPS and let's go straight down to menus and see what else we've got left. So programming channel is fairly straightforward. Everything can be done from the front panel of this radio. You don't need to use a PC, although it would be a bit of a laborious task if you wanted to program lots and lots of memories. But you can check the channel name, the receive frequency, transmit power, which is available in low, mid and high settings, bandwidth, CTCSS, DCS, etc, etc. So it's all in there, even scrambling as well, signaling and channel mode. It's surprising what you can actually do in there as well. So you don't really need to be using a computer. If it's just a few memories you want to program in, you can field program this radio. So that's a good plus point. And that's why these buttons have got the text legends on them. So you can actually input the name of the channel and everything. So if I went to channel name there, you can see there, look, GB3LC, and you've got the ABC up in the top corner, just like the old mobile phones and everything. So you can delete and you can change that. So if I go into there now, you see I can change the name and everything. I can also press the red button to go back if I want to cancel, etc. And I can change with the hash key down here between text and numeric values as well. So it's all fairly straightforward. Look, I can actually delete the channel name as well by pressing the red key for going backwards and forwards, and keep pressing back. So you can actually do everything without the need for a computer, which is better than some radios. Some of them only allow you to store the channel number and the frequency and the other parameters, but with this you can actually program the memories with the names as well and everything. So that's really good. Another feature on the radio on here is the fall down feature, which sounds quite interesting, but basically it's got some kind of accelerometer in it which can send an alert or like a sound an alarm if you actually fall down. So it's like a man down alarm kind of thing. So it's got trigger modes, you've got tile motionless, etc. There's all sorts of different things you can do. Tilt angle in degrees as to whether it determines that you've had a fall or something. So yeah, nice little safety feature built in there as well. So it must have an accelerometer inside this thing. And then there's delays, etc, etc. So, you know, it's not a feature that I've come across in many radios, but this is aiming at the sort of pro outdoor adventurer type of person as well. So who knows, it could be useful if you're amongst a group that's out on the mountains somewhere or doing some sort of dangerous activity, etc. So that's kind of like an interesting little feature that they built into the radio. Radio info just shows you the current firmware version there, and the radio ID number, I believe that is up there. Firmware version 0.22 and hardware version 1.0. So it's very, very new hardware this. The firmware is obviously still being developed, and there's going to be some future firmware updates, we would hope. Although I don't really see many coming in from Baofeng. I've seen some from other manufacturers, but I don't know if Baofeng actually do release updated firmware very often for their transceivers. But it's interesting to see that information in there as well. So on the whole, I do like it. It's kind of like a good evolution from the original UV-25 that we've got over here. And although they are very similar, it's a hard call as to whether you should upgrade. If you've already bought this other radio, then it's a bit of a hard sell. But if you're dead set on having the memory banks feature, then this is the one to go for. And if you've not bought one already and you like the look of this chunky radio with the massive, massive battery pack, I mean, this is a honking 5,200 milliamp battery pack, which does take a long time to charge up as well. We talked about this last time, but basically you're looking at a very slow charge process because I've measured the input power on this and it only draws about 5 watts on a USB charger. So as you can imagine, it's going to take several hours, like about 6-7 hours to charge this battery fully. So it's one of those things where you sort of leave it to charge up and walk away for quite some time. The battery pack is attached to the back of the unit with a couple of screws, so it's not going to fall off easily. It's very, very chunky, very robust as well. So, you know, like I say, it's the same battery pack that's used on both of these radios. So you can probably buy them separately and, you know, have a spare battery charging up if you need it. But you're going to have all day battery life with that kind of power output, and also this kind of battery. It's designed to last you all day long, which is a really good thing. So speaking of which, let's try out the power levels on this new radio to see how they check out. Right, it's about time to do that power test, and for that purpose we have the wonderful Shawcom SW33 SWR and power meter connected into a dummy load, so we're not going to be causing any interference on the bands while we're doing these tests. And we also get the perfect SWR, meaning that we can get the proper power measurement from the radio. So what we're going to do is we're going to key up on low power, and I'm going to show you guys what we got on the display. And as you can see there, we have got just over 3 watts, 3.84 watts, believe it or not, on low power. So for some radios that would be considered high power, but for this thing on 2 meter band, that's actually low power there. So let's now increase that up to the mid power range. So we press the button twice because it can jump straight to high actually. So let's go for the mid power, and mid power is clocking around 8.13 watts there, and that's on the 2 meter band. So mid power is 8 watts. So that's pretty impressive really. Is the radio going to be able to do any better on high? Let's find out. So let's switch over to the high power. There you go, you see it's on the display with the little red symbol for high. And let's give that a test. Oh my goodness, look at that, 11.8 watts, nearly hitting 12 watts into the dummy load. That is incredible. I better not key down for so long on this tiny little dummy load, but yeah, this radio is certainly delivering near on 12 watts on the 2 meter band. So that, guys, is really impressive. I honestly didn't think it would be able to do it, but it can do, so that is really, really cool. So I think what we need to do now is go down to the other band, which is 70 sems, 433.000. Let's start at the bottom end of there anyway and see what we got. And we'll go straight for a low power test. So let's just key down on that. And as you can see there, we're getting around 2.5 watts on low power there. So 2.5 watts on low power seems pretty respectable. Okay, let's now try going to mid power, same frequency again. There you go, mid power is 5.52 watts as well, so that's a really good punchy power level. And finally, let's go up to high and see what we can get out of it. We're getting just under 10 watts, well, 9.5 watts actually, 9.35 watts on the 70 sems band. So there you go, 9.5 watts power on high. So not quite as much as the 2 meter band, but still very, very impressive and more than most handhelds will deliver. So real plus point, this is a real beast of a handheld, and it's certainly putting out the output power. Okay, let's try one more test then, because some of you guys in the US want to know about this as well. The 220 megahertz band. So what we're going to do is go to 220 megahertz, and I'm going to key down on low power initially to see what we've got there. So on your low power on 220 megs, we're delivering just over 2 watts of power. No, 2.92 watts of power. So nearly 3 watts of power there on the low. And let's go for the medium power setting. As you can see there, well, about the same really. I don't think it seems to make much difference there. About the same power level again on the medium. And let's go up to the high setting. And on high, we're getting 5 watts. Now 5 watts at 220 megs is pretty respectable. Most of these radios don't manage half of that. But again, if you're in the United States where you can use that particular frequency for the ham radio band, is it 1.25 meter band? We don't have that here in Europe, but you guys do over in North America. So there you go. On the whole, I think that's pretty respectable, pretty decent stuff from this UV-25 Plus. Well, I think it's about time to show this radio working on the air. So what we're going to do now is show you a few short clips of the radio receiving some marine band and some other amateur radio traffic, etc. And me just having a short QSO with a local station as well. So you can get some idea of what the radio sounds like and how it operates on the air. So check out these clips. Okay, so here's the UV-25 Plus with the GPS working outdoors. Just very briefly, just show you the GPS again on this. You can just see it in there. A little bit reflective, the screen outside, because obviously colour screens are never that great outdoors, but maybe you can see that on the phone, I don't know. Just trying to record this one now. But as you can see there's our current positioning information. But I'm going to give my friend Paul, M0DPH, a quick shout, see if you can hear me on the radio. And let's give it a test from up here. So remember, about 4 or 5 miles away. and I'm using mid power on this on 2 meter band using the gooseneck antenna, which is pretty much stock, and it works well. It works okay. So let's just give him a quick shout. Yeah, M0 DPH G7 UFS. Have you got me, Paul?
0 DPH, yes, receiving. You give me a good S9. S9 plus 20.
Yeah, okay, Paul. Yeah, cracking audio coming from your side. I know you're on your electret mic in the shack and everything. It sounds good on that Yaesu. I'm just using that Baofeng UV-25 Plus. It's similar to the model we tested a little while ago. This one's got the GPS and the colour screen, so it's a little bit more updated. Same form factor, quite a big brick of a radio really, but the battery lasts absolutely ages on this one. But like I say, I'm just up at Flamborough Head, up at East Yorkshire. So yeah, good signal and everything. You're cracking audio, like I say, so let me know what you think of this one. Just on the 5 watt setting, I think on mid power at the moment, Paul. Back to you.
Mid power, you're giving me S20 20 plus. There's still a little bit of white noise in the background, but it's now drastic. But the audio's good. It's not as punchy as the previous one that we tested, but it's still good, clear audio.
Yeah, G7 UFS returning. Yeah, it might be because I'm talking a bit further away from the mic, Paul, because obviously I'm trying to get it in the focus on the camera as well, so I'm talking a little bit further away. If I drive it a bit closer up there, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's probably going to be a bit better to you there. But you do get a speaker mic in the box now with this one. You do get Baofeng speaker mic and a pouch as well to put the radio in, because if you remember, the belt clip was pretty terrible on the original model. So they've basically added a pouch instead that you can put your radio into, because obviously with the weight of these things, it's going to drag you down, a little belt clip. You know, they're a bit flimsy, so they've improved that anyway, Paul. But yeah, I like it. It's a good screen, good size and everything. Like I say, could do to be a little bit brighter outdoors, like most of these colour radios. But yeah, I'm just looking around up here, and weather's beginning to change up this way. Obviously looking out to sea, it's getting a bit cloudy now. It was nice and sunny earlier on, but we're just up here for a quick dog walk, really. So, you know, we're just like out walking dog, and yeah, it's all good. So, yeah, well, I don't know what to say about it, really, Paul. It's another good radio, good solid performer, really, and you can have that all-day battery life as well there. Back to you.
0 DPH, yeah, you've got up to a plus 40 now, so I don't know what you've done. Whether you've increased your power or what. So has that got any added features on it, like GPS or like that?
Yeah, you've got the GPS, Paul, on this one. Yeah, you can send GPS positioning between similar radios and everything. And the main selling point on this one is it's like an improved version of the software, I would say, because what you've got is you've got banks in this one as well. So by that I mean with the banks you can actually organise your channels, because you've got all them memories, but now you can break them off into, say, PMR, 2 meter, 70 SEMS, marine, airband, etc. So makes it a little bit easier to scan and organise, really. So, you know, before the radio just had like almost 1,000 memory channels, but you couldn't really organise them or anything. So this is much easier to do, because you can break them down into banks of, I think it's 100 in each bank on this one, Paul. So much easier to use straight away there. Yeah, back to you.
Yeah, well, that's not so bad then, is it? At least if you've got the different scan banks in there when you're scanning around, it saves having to scan through the whole 600 channels or whatever it's got. The Watson, what I've got, I think that's only got 200 channels, I think. But you can put scan banks in that Watson as well.
Yeah, that's the good thing about them. I like radios that have memory bank scanning on. Some of them call them zones. On these they call it a bank, but I notice when you program in the software it comes up as zone as well. But zones, banks, channels, whatever like that, yeah, it's all different terminology to use on some of these things. But yeah, they just call them channel banks on this one. And you can program it with chirp as well, I believe. I haven't tried yet, but I used the Baofeng software that came with the radio, and it works okay, but obviously chirp's a lot quicker. But if you've already got memories programmed up, you can just copy and paste them in.
0 DPH, Mike 0 Delta Papa Hotel, G7 UFS.
Yeah, M0 DPH, G7 UFS, returning to you there, Paul. Yeah, got you 100%. Good strong signal, same as on the 2 meter band there. I don't know what this one's like to you. Maybe give me a quick report on that one. Back to you.
Same again, if you're on your 5 watts, you are S9 plus 10. S9 plus 10. You just give them lighting up the first red segment on the graph there. Just as before, lovely clear audio. Tiny little bit of white noise behind you, but nothing to speak of.
Yeah, G7 UFS returning. Yeah, that's great. 100%, Paul. Yeah, same. Just as good, actually, on the 70 band, so that's nice to know anyway. But yeah, it's working great on both frequencies, Paul. Really, really chuffed with that. Yeah, it's a nice radio to hold, really. It's quite heavy, but obviously I'm just stood dead still while I'm filming this and just pointing the antenna straight up. But yeah, it's one of those gooseneck, as we call it, gooseneck antennas. I think it's just a wire in a tube, to be honest with you, but it works well enough, you know, so I can't really fault it. But yeah, well, cheers for the audio checks and everything. That's great. Bit of nice scenery in the video as well up here from the cliff tops in East Yorkshire as well. So yeah, much appreciated for doing the test. If you want to hang fire, I'll come back to you in a second from G7 UFS.
Problem M0DPH, always happy to oblige. I'll let you finish your little bit of videoing off and just give us a call when you're ready. M0DPH, checking a standby.
Right. So, I probably wouldn't be able to manage it. There used to be a company called Castle Electronics. They were quite reasonably priced. Might be worth having a look down there.
Yeah, I know Kevin's got one. He's got one that he hardly ever uses, or has hardly ever used. Might wait till I get hold of Kev, see what he wants for it.
That might be a good idea. Anyway, Elsie's just come back in, so I'll go and make her a cup of coffee. Catch you later. G40AX.
There's 73, mate.
UTC on Monday the 21st of April for the period 1200 UTC, Monday the 21st of April to 1200 UTC, the 22nd of April. General situation. A generally slack pressure pattern will cover the United Kingdom during the next 24 hours, bringing mostly only light or moderate breezes, although a locally strong westerly wind will affect the Bristol Channel during the afternoon. Most areas will have intervals of rain as Atlantic fronts move across from the west. Berwick-upon-Tweed to Whitby. 24-hour forecast. Southeast 3 or 4, veering west or southwest 2 to 4 later. Moderate becoming slight. Rain at first. Moderate or good, occasionally poor. Outlook for the following 24 hours. West or southwest, backing east or southeast 2 to 4. Slight. Showers for a time. Good. Whitby to Gibraltar Point. 24-hour forecast. Southeast veering west later 2 to 4. Moderate at first in north, otherwise slight. Rain at first, showers later, moderate or good, occasionally poor. Outlook for the following 24 hours. West 2 or 3, backing southeast 3 or 4, then backing northeast later. Slight, showers for a time, good. Gibraltar Point to Northumberland, 24-hour forecast. Variable 3 or less, becoming westerly 2 to 4. Smooth or slight, rain at first, fog patches later. Moderate or good, occasionally poor, then occasionally very poor later. Outlook for the following 24 hours. Westerly backing southerly 2 to 4, then backing easterly 4 to 6 later.
3 6 on Victor London, Roger, reach up to Dibble and you can resume on speed. Dibble on speed, 7 up. Roger, in order to be flight level 260 level by Barmy, how long till your proper descent? How much? So it's going to be 290 miles there, but if you see
Now, as you can see from the clips that I've just showed you, the AM airband still has some issues even in this new model. So I'm sad to report that even though we said about it in the original UV-25, there's an issue with the AM airband reception with this radio. They've still not got to the bottom of this, and it's the same with so many of the Chinese radios. They just don't receive AM properly. And yet it's annoying because it could be fixed in the firmware update. We've seen other manufacturers fix this issue and some custom firmware, but unfortunately it's not possible on this one. At the moment we've still got issues with the AM airband being distorted. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. It's just one of those little niggly things really. So I wouldn't bother buying the radio if you're interested in listening to AM airband, is what I'm saying to you. But it should be considered a bonus feature. Just a bit sad really, but that's the reality. So I just wanted to point that one out as well. So here's a quick look at the programming CPS software for the UV-25 Plus. Now this piece of software can be downloaded from baofengradio.com in the downloads section. It's a nice and easy one to find. So the software itself is called BF UV Pros CPS, and it covers a number of different Pro Series radios, or in this case as it's marketed, the UV-25 Plus, but we just select the UV-25 Pro from here. Make sure you select the correct model number to get the right features. And then we just check the correct port number is set in the software, and this will depend on your machine. It'll be different to mine probably, depending on how many cables you've got plugged in and what sort of programming drivers you've already installed on your computer. So in my case it's COM10, and we're going to hit read on this one. Now it doesn't take long at all. It's a very fast data transfer, so that's good news considering there is 1,000 channels available in this radio. But like I say, it doesn't take 2 seconds to read in and everything, so that's really good. So as you can see there, it's finished. And we're just going to open up the channel information window, which shows the channels that are stored in the radio. Now, in this case, I've already programmed up some of these, as you've seen in the demo that I've been showing you today. And as you'll see on here, we have a bank of channels. Now, this one is called Bank PMR446. And in each bank, you've got 100 memory channels. Now, these are fixed. You can't reassign them. You can't change the size of the bank. There's 100 channels in every bank, and you've got 10 banks, meaning that you've got 1,000 memories available. So in this case, if I just click through to the next one here, you can see repeaters in this bank. You see ham simplex channels in the next one, marine frequencies, and then I've got some GMRS frequencies, including the Baofeng frequencies, the default ones, which are handy to have in for scanning. And also UK Light, which is just like business radio frequencies. But of course I've got plenty of capacity to spare in there. I could program up all different things, but it's good to sort them into banks so you don't have to scan the whole lot if you're out and about and you're wanting to listen to different things or monitor different services. So that's basically how the banks work. So you've got 100 channels in every bank. So the CPS software is quite basic. You can't import anything from a CSV file or anything like that, so it's kind of laborious to type all this lot up. But the good news is you can use Chirp as an alternative program, and I'm going to show you that in a second, and the reasons why you might want to use Chirp alongside this UV Pros software with the CPS. So if we go back up to top here and then go over to radio function, some of the basic controls are available in here as well for setting the preferences, such as the screen timeouts, the VFO modes, whether you want it to display channel or frequency or name, etc., whether you want the GPS on or off. And also, this is quite an important one, the side key as well, where you can program it to do different things like FM radio, scan, search, or voice activated transmit. And you can choose whether to have a startup logo or battery voltage. There's all sorts of little tweaks you can do. It's fairly basic stuff, but it's all in there, so it's kind of like handy and easier than going through all the menus on the radio to program it up. So this is what I mean about the CPS software. It's good and bad at the same time. It's quite basic, but you can't import frequencies in, which means you're going to spend a lot of time typing all these up again and again. Although the good news is there is an alternative to this. So if we just leave that for 1 second and nip over to Chirp that I've got open down here already. And what I've discovered is that you can actually use this radio with Chirp, even though it technically isn't supported, because it's based on the UV-17 Pro, I believe it is. So what we do is we go download from radio in Chirp, make sure the COM port's selected, vendor, Baofeng, and the model number should be set to UV-17 Pro GPS, and then we're going to click OK on that. We get these warnings and everything, and basically we just let it clone from the radio again in the same way we did with the official Baofeng CPS. Now, the reason you might want to use this instead of the official Baofeng one is it's going to save you a lot of time, because you can cut and paste into Chirp. And of course, if you've already created data files with frequencies in, you can just literally paste them into a brand new data file for Baofeng and send it over to the radio. This is going to save you hours of work. And as you can see in here, the same channels are actually in here, but conceptually it's a little bit different. And this confused me at first, because I went over to the Banks tab on Chirp, and you can see here there's a list of banks from 1 to 10. So I thought to myself, oh, you just tick the boxes to set the bank of which you want to assign the channel to. So if I click into here, say I want to put these channels into bank 2, I clicked on there and I got this error message saying this radio has fixed banks and does not allow reassignment. And then it suddenly dawned upon me, I knew what I was doing wrong. What's happening here is that in Chirp it shows the memory locations from 1 to 1000, and basically the banks are non-assignable. So what you'll find is that in the other software, in the Baofeng CPS, we saw the bank numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this one, bank 2 starts at memory channel 101, and then bank 3 starts at memory channel 201. So there's your 100 channels in every bank, if that makes sense. And what you have to do if you're programming this way is make sure that the channels are starting for each bank at 301, 401, 501, etc., all the way up. So of course bank 5 would be the next one up from here, which would be 401. And so then it makes sense that you can't change these inside here. You just literally put them into the right memory location. So that's what it means by banks are fixed assignment. So fixed memory banks and does not allow reassignment is kind of like an informative message more than error itself. And of course it makes sense. Now of course there are some limitations to Chirp at the moment, with this being a beta driver, and one of the things I discovered is that when you look at, say, the power column on here, you only get the choice of low and high power. You don't get mid power available as an option. So I would save yourself a lot of time. I'd program up in Chirp, and then if you wanted to tweak these to mid power, load the CPS after you've written it back to the radio, back into the Baofeng UV Pro's CPS, and then you'll be able to make those last minute tweaks really to the code plug. So for example, in this case, look, you see there's mid, low and high power, but that's not available inside Chirp at this moment in time, because officially that driver isn't the correct one for this radio. So presumably the other radio only has the high and low power setting, whereas with the UV-25 it's got all 3 settings. So what I'm saying to you is do the laborious work or the importing and exporting of data inside Chirp, and then bring it into here for the overall control. That's not to say that Chirp's no good or anything. It is. It's really good that it can do that, because at first I thought the radio wasn't actually supported at all. But as we can see from the demo I've just shown there, you can use the UV-17 Pro CPS, which saves an awful lot of time, because I can literally cut and paste memory channels into here, move them around, which is something you can't do in the standard Baofeng software. So it makes life so much easier when you're programming a lot of channels and frequencies in. There are limitations though in birth for these pieces of software, and one thing that I did want to show you is this one. If I go back into the Baofeng software and then go into a spare memory location here and try typing in an airband frequency, it doesn't allow it. It says frequencies error, meaning that it won't accept any AM airband frequencies, and that's the same across the board with Chirp and everything. So it's clear to me that those airband frequencies can't be programmed using the CPS software, which is pretty much the same as on the other Baofeng radios we actually reviewed recently. It's kind of a bit of a blow really if you're trying to hopefully program some airband frequencies in. The only way you can do it is direct on the radio itself. So it's to be hoped that the software gets updated at some point in the future to allow this, and maybe it adds a few more features like importing and exporting through CSV and things that would make our lives so much easier. But that's it. As you see, the CPS is basic but functional, but I think you've got to use a combination of Chirp alongside the BF UV Pro software to get the tweaks that you want to make the code plug work for you. Anyway, hopefully you found that informative and useful. A lot of people said that the radio can't be programmed with Chirp, but that proves that it can be done using the UV-17 Pro code plug. I'll leave it there. So my conclusions for this radio. I think that this is a good evolutionary point for the UV-25. If you've already bought the original model, this one's going to be a little bit of a hard sell, but for those of you who like the form factor, or you've been holding off buying one of these to address some of the issues in the first model, then it might be the time to purchase one. Like I say, it's a very heavy radio, so do consider that before purchasing. It's quite robust, it's quite chunky, it's got that sort of military look about it as well. Obviously it's not real mil spec or anything, but for the money, which is around $40–50 with the accessory kit, I think it's a winner really, especially now they've updated the software. So you've got the memory bank features, the zones, and you've got the extra output power, and basically the GPS functionality, which, you know, you might have some use for it in some use case scenarios, I don't know, but certainly I think that this is a winner. But if you've already purchased the original UV-25, which I've got over here, which is also still a great radio, and you're just wanting it for basic comms and everything, you know, this one is still great. And there might be some special offers on this with it getting a little bit older now, you know, in that it's one of the models that's been out a little bit longer. But the UV-25 only launched a few weeks back. And like I say, it's got some compelling new features in, but if you've already purchased this, I'd probably hesitate before buying the new one, unless you really do want the banks feature and the GPS. But that said, you know, you can never have too many radios. That's my motto really. But if you guys are interested in this one, check out my description underneath and I'll leave some links to baofengradio.com. And if you guys could use the affiliate link that I post below, that would really help the channel. I know it's not much and everything, but it does help, and every little bit helps when it comes to supporting YouTube channels like this, which are a small channel basically. We get a few dollars here and there if somebody purchases a radio, but and that's, you know, I'm not saying I'm recommending a particular product or anything, but I do have the affiliate links on to help fund some of the cost of purchasing radios like these ones. You know, so I can show things on the channel and keep you guys interested in some of the latest tech that's coming out, especially these interesting radios that seem to be pumping out the door in China like crazy at the moment. I mean, we've got all sorts of new stuff coming up this year. I think 2025 has been the year of the Chinese radio, that's for sure. And affordable radios have never been so cheap. I know there's some issues with regards to quality control on some models, and things like emissions aren't always the best on certain models. I mean, if you know that kind of thing, if you're interested in the emissions side of it, probably best checking out some other channels that specialise in that kind of testing really. At the moment I've not got the proper equipment to be able to do the full emissions test on some of these rigs, but certainly from a value perspective, these are great value for money, and they're great for anybody who doesn't want to spend too much money on a transceiver or just starting off on amateur radio as well. So they do offer a hell of a value for money really. So anyway guys, thanks for watching the video, hope you've enjoyed it and looking at the various features on this new model, and I will see you in the next video soon. So 73 to everybody, catch you in the next one, bye for now.